So Spider looks at me because we go back to the juvenile side of the county.
What the? You are now in the Black Box. Whoa. With Spider Loke, Most Easty, a.k.a. BJ Keyway, and the Google Gang. Let's go!
Listen. Gratitude is the attitude. Show is a blessing. To be back in the Black Box. Black Box.
Relax, roll up as we randomly react to content in these YouTube streets. Yeah. It's time for R&R.
Smack with that hustle. Big shout out to my SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the Black Box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
The constant, consistent, continuous content creation campaign continues. We slide on them 7 C's. Y'all see the title. Should be a good one. My boy Respectable Rants. He be putting good content together, connecting dots. So with no further ado, let's see what Tiny Diamond from 86yrs and his girl from 86yrs have been up to.
I'm sentencing you to the mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole.
When it come down to Crip on Crip beef, like that's history. Like, you feel me? Like, it was a point in time Crips didn't shoot Crips. You feel me? So we started that. Like we.
I'm sentencing you to the mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole.
In today's video, we're gonna cover 2 people. One of them people would be David Bean, and the other would be Janelle Williams, and both would be charged with 4 counts of murder in the summer of 2016. David Bean was from 86yrs Gangsta Crip, and he went by the moniker Tiny Diamond. And Janelle Williams went by Gigi, and she was a member of the ROLLIN 60s. But let's dive into the first murder. The victim's name would be Marcus Wilkerson, and on July 29th of 2016, just before 5 a.m. in the morning, residents of the area of Gage and Western Ave overheard voices and a gunshot outside. One witness would hear a man say, "I can't believe you're doing this to me." Then immediately after, they would hear a gunshot, but they wouldn't call 911. And after an hour, a pedestrian walking down the street would come across Wilkerson's body. He would be shot in his upper thigh, and later on police would learn that Gigi Williams, who was the co-defendant, previously had a romantic relationship with him. No arrest would be made in that case, but almost 2 weeks would go by. And on August 9th of 2016, they would be accused of murdering somebody named Sean Pryor. Sean Pryor and his wife were staying at a motel in Inglewood. Surveillance footage from the motel would capture Bean, Williams, and another female, who they identified as Tiffany Doxy, enter the motel around 2:39 in the morning. Gigi Williams and Tiffany Doxy would go to the door and knock, while David Bean, aka Tiny Diamond, would sit back in the hallway out of sight. Tiffany Doxy knew the couple, so they would allow the 2 women to enter the motel room. They were there to buy something white, but they would use counterfeit bills for the purchase. Sean Pryor would notice, and an argument would ensue. That's when video surveillance from outside the room observed Bean, aka Tiny Diamond, arriving at the doorstep and stepping into the doorway while Gigi Williams was inside. He would then pull out a firearm and say, "You know what this is. Give me your money, I want everything." Sean Pryor and his wife would then wrestle with Tiny Diamond and get him out of the motel room. They would then close the door, but before that, Tiny Diamond would fire 2 shots, but he wouldn't hit anybody. They would then lock the door while Gigi Williams was still inside. That would be the female from ROLLIN 60s. And Tiny Diamond, being locked out of the motel, would break the motel window and start to shoot, and he would hit Sean Pryor. Gigi Williams would then run out, but she would leave her jacket behind. Tiny Diamond, Gigi Williams, and Tiffany Doxy would then run away and jump in a vehicle. But don't forget, we said Tiffany Doxy, because she would be the next victim. And as you can see, her murder happened 12 minutes after they left the motel where Pryor was shot. Tiffany Doxy left in her own vehicle, which would be a Volvo, but she would have Gigi Williams as a passenger. And David Bean, aka Tiny Diamond, would be following them in a Chevy Malibu. Tiffany Doxy and Gigi Williams would pull into a parking lot while Tiny Diamond parked his Chevy Malibu on the street. But right as...
How did they get in a car together? If I was old girl, I wouldn't even have ran in my car. It just kept running down the block, hit a gate, ran, shook them.
As the two women pulled into a parking space, Gigi Williams would shoot Tiffany Doxy in the face. Gigi Williams would then jump out and run to Tiny Diamond's vehicle. And police were already looking for Tiffany Doxy at this time because she was the only one that knew the couple from the motel. So police knew that these cases were related. And on top of that, it happened 12 minutes apart. Police would start investigating both of these killings, plus the one that happened in June with Gigi's ex-boyfriend. But 4 days after the killing of Sean Pryor and Tiffany Doxy, they would be accused of another killing on August 13th of 2016. And his name was Kenyatta Thornton, aka Tiny Tapeoff from the Rollin 60s. And at 10:40 in the morning, Gigi Williams and Tiny Diamond would pull up to 11th Avenue and West 63rd Street in the heart of the Rollin 60s. Gigi got out the vehicle, which would be the black Chevy Malibu, to talk to somebody named Jose, and she was attempting to sell him a phone. Jose was Tiny Tapeoff's mechanic, and when he was talking to Gigi Williams, he would see Tiny Tapeoff walking up 63rd Street towards them with two black objects in his hand.
What was she on? Guess she was a real 6'0". Damn.
And once Tiny Tapeoff reached Gigi and Jose, he would ask Gigi who was in the car, and she would reply and say, "Don't worry about it, it's nobody." Tiny Tapeoff would then approach the Chevy Malibu and tap on the window with one of the objects that was in his hand. Police would say it was most likely a gun. Tiny Tapeoff would then tell Tiny Diamond, who was from 8 Trey, "What are you doing around here? You better get out of here." Tiny Tapeoff would then turn around and walk away. And when that happened, Jose would tell police that he heard a bunch of gunshots, with one shot being much louder than the other, so police would assume that it was a shootout between two different calibers. And near Tiny Tapeoff's body, they would find a cell phone and a 9mm. They would also find 8 .45 caliber shell casings and multiple 9mm bullet casings. This would be Tiny Tapeoff, and he was 27 years old at the time of his death. And 2 days later, on August 15th of 2016, Tiny Diamond and Gigi Williams would both be arrested, and they would be hit with 4 counts of murder, 3 counts of possession of a firearm, and 1 count of assault with a firearm. They would both sit in the county for the next 7 years, but in January of 2023, they would start trial. And at first, they would call 2 witnesses to the stand. One of them would have the initials LS, and LS and Gigi Williams, who was from Rollin 60s, previously got into a bunch of arguments about Wilkerson, who was the victim. She would also say that the victim told her that Gigi Williams would be the death of him. And the second person would be somebody that worked at Jack in the Box, which was located right up the street where the first victim was killed, Wilkerson. And she would also say that Gigi Williams threatened her over the victim multiple times. She would also provide video footage taken from the parking lot of Jack in the Box, but the video was from 2 weeks before the murder. And in that video, it showed Gigi Williams getting out of a black Chevy Malibu. And they would run the plates on that Chevy Malibu, and they would see it belonged to David Bean, aka Tiny Diamond, from 8 Trey. And with that video, that would be the first time that police made a connection between Gigi Williams and Tiny Diamond from 8 Trey. They would also match the shell casing from the first scene to all the rest of the murders, meaning that he used the same exact gun for all of them. But Tiny Diamond would testify and say that he knew the first victim, and they used to smoke together and had no animosity between them. He also told detectives that were investigating the crime that he had been at a 24-hour smoke shop that night. He would also tell them that, to his surprise, he saw Gigi Williams immediately after he left the smoke shop and drove to a nearby clinic. And for the second victim, like we said, they would be able to match all the shell casings to each other. And in the motel room, they would find shell casings from a 4.5. And like we said, Gigi Williams left her jacket behind. So in that jacket, they would find a you-know-what pipe and a lighter in the pocket. And for the murder of Tiffany Doxy, like we said, they would have
Pookie pipe? Gotta be a Pookie pipe. How old was she? Damn, they was out here on one.
have surveillance footage of the motel. And on top of that, they would have video footage from a nearby liquor store that would show a flash of light inside of the Volvo, consistent with a muzzle flash from a gun. Gigi Williams would then get out and run towards the Chevy Malibu that Tiny Diamond was sitting in, and in the video footage, they would compare what she was wearing from the parking lot to the motel, and she was wearing the same exact thing. And there was also a .45 caliber shell casing on the front passenger seat. And for the murder of Tiny Takeoff, like we said, they would recover shell casings from a 4.5 on the scene. And they would also have statements from Tiny Takeoff's mechanic, and they would also have cell phone data connecting them to all the crime scenes. But 7 years after being arrested, on February 3rd of 2023, they would be found guilty by a jury, and they would be convicted. But David Bean, he would beat his first count of murder, which would be of Wilkerson, but he would be guilty of every other count. And as far as Janelle Williams, aka Gigi, from the Rollin 60s, she would be convicted also, but she would be acquitted of the murder of Tiny Takeoff, but she would be convicted of the murder of Wilkerson, which would be the first victim, which was her ex-boyfriend. David Bean, aka Tiny Diamond, would receive 3 consecutive terms of life in prison without parole, just for the murders. Then they would add 25 years to life for the assault with a firearm. And on top of that, they would add another 51 years to life for a firearm enhancement, plus another term of 6 years and 8 months. And Gigi Williams would get 2 consecutive terms of life without parole for the 2 murders, plus 55 years to life for the 3rd one. And on top of that, they would add 6 years and 8 months for the 3 gun possessions, and an additional 5 years for prior strike convictions.
God damn.
And on both Tiny Diamond and Gigi Williams, they both have to run them consecutive. But that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Comment, like, and subscribe. It's Respectable Rants. And rest in peace to everybody that's mentioned in this video.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. 97 ways we gon' live it. You can tell me shit about my crippin'. I done been a loco my living. Now it's time to chase me a bag. 97 ways we gon' live it. Big Mac in the building. 97 ways we gon' live it. We gon' live it. 97 ways we gon' live it. You can tell me shit about my crippin'. I done been a loco my living. Now it's time to chase me a bag.
100,000 feel like something when you're thumbing through it. Done it when some would say one would be dumb to do it. Running circles round rappers on their last lap. PayPal perhaps. Ass cap the cash app. Ass app is how I expect the next direct deposit. Positivity love phone posit. Check the closet. To say we touching paper is an understatement. Underground label running late. Tell them run the payment. Executive decisions. Check the balance. Time to monetize the talents. I accept the challenge. Memory a crazy tune. 111 A. Local for my days. 97 ways.
97 ways we gon' live it. You can tell me shit about my crippin'. I done been a loco my living. Now it's time to chase me a bag. 97 ways we gon' live it. Big Mac in the building. 97 ways we gon' live it. We gon' live it. 97 ways we gon' live it. You can tell me shit about my crippin'. I done been a loco my living. Now it's time to chase me a bag.
Unable to fake it. Fuck how they take it. Heard about the meeting, I was able to make it. Just sick of watching Sherm heads squabble each other while the judge steady handing out lottery numbers. It go down year round, ain't gotta be summer. Life's a bitch and niggas never get apologies from her. Dumber, big and little homies frequently locking. Don't see no other options, that's the reason they flocking. SPI ain't the nigga, how you figure fat? Gift the gab, every gig get a bigger bag. Either name your price or it's appropriation. Finesse game, nigga, nice with negotiations.
97 ways we gon' live it. You can tell me shit about my crippin'. I done been a loco my living. Now it's time to chase me a bag. 97 ways we gon' live it. Big Mac in the building. 97 ways we gon' live it.
Nigga that hustle. Big shout out to my nigga SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.
It's the homie cook-up boss, goddammit, Cub Low. And y'all tuning in to the Wake and Bake Show with goddammit the homeboy Spider Low.
Here with SPI, the realest nigga in LA.
Spider this bitch!
My nigga Spider Low. Spider Low, nigga.
Spider Low.
It's Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
So Spider looks at me because we go back to the juvenile side of the county.
What the fuck?
My nigga.
Spider Low. Spider Low.
Shout out to SPI, that motherfucking nigga.
Spider Low, Wake and Bake. Better keep it Google, nigga.
Loke is in LA somewhere doing what he's doing.
In the words of Spider Loke on my mama's mama.
Spider Loke's gear. This is Bay Mac.
Nate Blood, C-Mac. Shout out my Loke, Spider Loke, huh? Nate Blood on Hood. It's a beautiful world. You fight me? Fight, quit.
Point blank, through no subliminal dissing. When I listen, I can tell you never been on no mission. Sticking to the script, don't care if I offend you. Neighborhood crib, the marathon
I overlook my competition, never seeing them. I done trained my mind that I'm going. You could tell by how I walk, talk, I'm a boss. A east side millionaire, homie, what you thought? My life is a movie. They can't get close to me. They mad cause they can't be. I'm everything that they wanna be, yeah.
You are now in the Black Box. Whoa. With Spider Loke, Most Easty, aka BJ Keyway, and the Google Gang.
Let's go!